Well, thank you, Madam Ambassador.
Okay.
I now recognize myself for 5 minutes. You know, I want to go over a couple of things that you just made mention of. You talked about inclusivity means everyone. Can you tell me how doing an actual event which is only tailored towards a certain gender or a certain sexual preference or a certain racial bias is in some way inclusive of all, as opposed to just saying that everyone is welcome?
Mr. Chairman, when you say doing a certain event, are you talking like
Let's
a
just
Black
say, for
History
example, an
Month event or Women's History?
LGBTQI event. Do you think that's inclusive of every individual, that they would feel that that's something that they want to partake in?
So I believe that it is a learning experience for people who don't belong to that group. That's why
But again, I'm
affinity
asking,
groups.
it's not about learning. We do that
I
a lot. So I work in the
yes, you
Foreign
said,
Service
is it
as well.
inclusive?
And I know for a fact that we learn about cultures. We learn about regions. We learn about the idea of not just cultural exchanges, but also what are some of the actual norms that you can actually learn about that allows you to be a better diplomat so that you can engage with them, because sometimes people are a little more vague and ambiguous in how they say things, but it's a cultural issue, not that they're trying to evade the question. So I understand that portion of it.
Okay.
But what we're talking about is inclusivity means everyone.
Yes.
So when you section off particular groups, do you think that that is inclusive when you're trying to tailor money to only go towards those particular groups for particular events?
The point is to bring in underrepresented groups. That is why, and we have the statistics. GAO's done reports for many years that show we have underrepresented groups in the Department of State. Therefore, while we hire for merit only, we do have to recruit in a more focused fashion for different groups. People
But
are in
don't you
different
believe, though, that meritocracy should be the only merit in which you're actually judged upon or that you're graded upon?
Yes.
Shouldn't matter any other factor other than who is the very best at being able to do a job. And I don't think that, having served in the United States military for a number of years, I don't think once did I look to my left and right and say, gosh, I sure hope that he knows his pronouns. Gosh, I sure hope that he has this background and culture. Gosh. No, I said, I hope that he's the absolute best warfighter that we have who's standing to my left and right. And it's the only thing that I cared about. As I fought with a gentleman who was from Cambodia, who lived in LA, a man from Brooklyn, a man from Lombard, Illinois, all of which the color of their skin didn't matter. We all wore green. And that actually matters, more so than any other diversity, equity, inclusion, which has been nothing but a divisive tool. But I will ask this. Can you please outline how much money did the department allocate to fund the Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion every fiscal year?
Every fiscal year. At the beginning, my first year, our budget was about $2.2 million. By the time I left, it had grown to about $7 million, and these figures are, you probably have access to them already, of course. There were other programs throughout the building that might have fallen under the rubric of what the Department of State always used, which is recruit for diversity, but we hire for merit. There were no DEIA hires.
And can you just explain to me, how did this funding advance American interests overseas? How did this funding support the actual toppling of the Iranian regime, who was brutally murdering and torturing people like Mahsa Amini? How did this diversity, equity, inclusion prevent the Houthis from increasing attacks that disrupted 12% of global trade, the unfreezing of assets that led to a continuation of proxy funding? How did DEI and the office within the State Department help our overseas security and national security interests?
Sure, if I may.
Please.
As I mentioned in my remarks, and as we all know from the 1960s, our reputation matters. That's how we build allies. That's how we build support.
And trust matters, right?
I beg your pardon?
Trust. Our allies must trust that we're going to be there,
Trust,
right?
but that we are going to.
Just like Biden showed trust when he withdrew us from Afghanistan, abandoning so many of our SIV and others who fought alongside us for 20 plus years for political reasonings.
I believe that was a great harm, and I understand that that harm is continuing even now with the SIVs, that they are not able to
correct.
come to the United States now, which is not good. But if I may answer the question that you asked, our reputation of being a country where merit counts, where if you work hard, you can achieve. And that means all of us going and showing the world that all of us are able to benefit from our hard work is important. It does help our foreign policy.
Well, I agree that hard work matters, especially as a person who grew up in a broken home where my dad spent 32 years in prison, my mom spent 7.5 years in prison. It was riddled with drug addiction and other substance abuses. Hard work is what matters. Hard work is what got me here and why our socioeconomic background shouldn't define us as individuals, and we shouldn't, divisively try and identify people by anything other than the best and the hardest working. With that, I'd like to now recognize my ranking member, Mr. Moskowitz, for 5 minutes.